Mic test 1, 2. You can hear? From Kestrel.
Yes, from
Kama unaweza kutuma, kureceive ama kulipa na
regulator. Uko salama?
Very well.
Yes.
Yeah, pleasure to meet everyone.
Awesome.
Yes.
All right. So you're just checking our mic levels. I hope they are good. So you'll tell us when you're ready to start. A good afternoon to every single one of you that is tuned in, and we are really delighted to host this webinar on how to make money through the stock market. So it's a great delight for all those that have tuned in. We are delighted. We are beaming live from the Nairobi Securities Exchange, and we are glad that you actually took time to be with us. So we'll cut off the fluff and get right into it. My name is Irungo Agema. I'm with the NSC Business Development Team for Agri. And why you're wondering about Agri is because we began this conversation with Kakuzi. I believe they are tuned in, and they wanted to learn more about how to invest, how to activate, how is this IPO trading and all that. And so we got the experts, and we are here with them today, and also just to be able to break it down. But I'm sure they invited friends and family, and you're all very, very much welcome. So to join me in the panel, we have Mr. Daniel Gikandi from Drummond. Maybe you can introduce yourself. Karibu sana.
A very bright morning. Thank you, Agema, for inviting me for this session. Really excited to be here and talk about how to grow your wealth in the stock market, and also, in addition, about the ongoing KPC IPO. My name is Daniel Gikandi, Francis Drummond, the oldest market intermediary in the market, actually 50 plus years of excellence, of investments, and we are still going strong. So karibuni sana.
Wow, thank you very much. So they are otherwise known as B001, and we are glad and delighted to have you. We also heard that people are keen on how can we invest through Zidi. Zidi, of course, is the latest. I say it is like a watershed moment for the capital markets industry because it makes it so easy, and also it is also one of the innovative platforms that is also quote unquote disrupting the market. And we want to understand. And I hear as of Friday, one can actually buy shares through Zidi for KPC. So we have Sophie from Kestrel. Karibu sana, and good to have you.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here. My name is Sophie Njao from Kestrel Capital. I head the operations department, and we've been in partnership with Safaricom to bring you ZD Trader, which is helping each and everyone to invest and also to participate in the KPC IPO. Thank you.
Wow, we are delighted. We are really looking forward to see how that works. And of course, our audience want to keep it interactive. So feel free to use the chat. Feel free to be able to interact with us. If you have a question, if you have a comment, we'll make it as interactive as possible. So we want to keep that engagement coming on. And then last but not least, we have from our regulatory affairs, Mr. Titus Kilu. He's here with us. Bwana Titus, karibu sana. I know there were questions on maybe if you're a listed company, how can you be able to trade in the stock market? Are there regulations and all that? So for our safety, we have Mr. Titus and karibu sana. Good to have you. You can introduce yourself.
Thank you, Rungu. Welcome, everyone. My name is Titus Kilo, and I'm responsible for regulatory affairs for the exchange. And we exist to support issuers to come to the market. We support our market participants to do business. And most importantly, we support our investors to ensure that they are protected.
Awesome. So it's good to have you. And in fact, we'll be beginning from the regulatory point of view. And we had some questions, especially for people who are participating maybe online. Maybe you are part of a listed company, maybe like even one of our listed companies. And they are keen to find out what are the regulations, what are the do's and don'ts. Yes, I want to make money in the stock market, but what should I be careful? Are there safe days to invest, or what are the regulations, and what do the regulations say about that? Karibu sana. Titus?
Thank you, Rungu. I think the most important thing we start from information and how investors are able to access information and how they are likely to interact with information. So the most important thing is for investors to always make sure that they make use of the available information. But from where we sit is the most important thing is the timing of that information in terms of when this information reaches the investors. So for us, for example, if you're an employee of a listed company, then it's also very important to be careful on how you handle information that is not yet public. So for us is from where we sit is how do staff members handle information which is regarded as confidential. What that means is when I speak of material information, is information that is likely to affect buy, sell, or hold decisions for most of the investors. Meaning, if you have access to that information, you are likely to act on that information. So if that information is likely to have that impact on investors, then we call that material information. That material information now, if it's not yet public, and any employee or board member acts on that information, then that's what we call insider trading, and is part of what we call malpractice in the market. And the reason why is we consider that as a malpractice is you'll have an advantage over other investors. So if, for example, you're an accountant, you are the ones who are doing the numbers, you are the one who is passing the journals, you are doing the management reports, and based on the information that you access through your daily work, you go to the market, and if the information is likely to add value to the shares, you go to the market and buy the shares, then you are likely committing what we call insider trading, because that information is not yet available to the market. So that's insider trading. And again, what we do in terms of the policies and rules, regulation is the guidances on how your companies are supposed to handle information. So the most important aspect of this is all the issuers are required to have insider trading policy, and the policies are able to guide how information is handled within the organization, how employees, directors are likely to behave when they have access to the information. So one way of doing it is the introduction of blackout periods. So blackout periods are periods when employees of an entity are not supposed to deal in the shares of that company. So I'll give you an example. If your financial year end is 31st of December, then we assume at the end of the financial year, you have all the information that you are likely to use to make a decision based on past performance. So for most of the organizations, they will consider the beginning of that year or the first day after the end of the financial year to the period when those financial statements are released to the public as a blackout period. And it's the period where entities are required to have a policy that all the employees, directors are not expected to buy, sell the shares of that company. So the intention is if you're no longer a shareholder, then you are not supposed to go to the market and buy the shares. If you're a shareholder, then you are supposed to hold until the shares, until the information goes out to the public. So that's blackout period. The other example is relates to information like if you have a transaction in the market, maybe a mergers and acquisition transaction, and then within the decision-making process, the board members make a decision, there's a resolution around that decision, maybe to divest or a business or sell property, then the moment the board members have a resolution that they are going to go ahead and divest or sell that property, then from that point the countdown starts. So at that point, then the people involved in the transaction, first of all, they are supposed to release that information to the public about their intentions, and then secondly, before that information goes out to the public, then they are likely to, they are expected not to deal with the shares. But the moment that information and that notice goes to the public, then everyone is free to deal with the shares. So basically that is, it's around the rules, the CMA regulation, and also the CMA Act, which guides on behaviors within the market. So it's more of the CMA Act, the regulations, the NSE rules guide on how the internal policies are supposed to be handled. And then finally, remember, you could be having the policies, but if your internal control environment is not robust, then you are likely to have leaks in terms of the way information goes out to the public. So also it's very important to have robust internal control measures to ensure that information is carefully handled, and the people who are supposed to have the information are the people who are should be the people who are the ones handling that information. And then finally, it's also very important to ensure that employees and external parties who handle transactions, like for example, if you have auditors who are auditing the financial statements, then there must be some an arrangement where those external parties also have a way of they need to be guided on how they are supposed to handle the shares. In terms of a transaction, mergers and acquisition, divestiture, then legal advisors, accountants, and any other players in the transaction, then there must be a framework which guides on how they're supposed to handle information that flows from the entity that's handling that transaction to the outside market. So what's important is entities, if a decision has been made about a certain transaction, then that information must flow to the market within 24 hours from the point when that decision or resolution was passed. So I think that's sufficient enough to provide a framework on what we mean we speak of protection for staff and investors. And just to conclude, when we speak about frameworks, internal control mechanisms, the most important thing is about for organizations, it's not just try to prevent malpractice to the market, but it's also to protect the reputation of the company and the employees. So we don't want situations where one of the employees has a situation where they have dealt with, they have been involved in malpractice. So it's also important to ensure that those frameworks and rules, procedures are in place to ensure that the reputation of the company is protected, and also the employees are protected by ensuring that they don't deal in the shares that are likely to impact on their reputation, because there are clear rules, there are clear internal procedure that guide on how information should be handled within the organization. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much, Titus. So for those who've just joined in, or maybe you just found us, going along, you're very much welcome. So what we are having is a webinar on how to make money through the stock market. We are delighted to be able to share insights that surround maybe investing within the stock market. And Titus has elaborated for us different safeguards from a policy point of view, from a regulation point of view, that can become very important, especially when you're accessing. So if you are within a listed company, make sure that you visit especially the rules, regulations that are there. Especially he talked about the insider trading policy, so that you safeguard the reputation of your organization, but also to make sure that you can also safely trade and you're not thinking, oh, I'll get in trouble. So like he did mention, we also have the Capital Markets Authority and also the NSE that are always watching on maybe is there any cases of insider trading. So he talked also about the safe periods. So there's a period within which even as a listed company, you can actually get to engage in trading of stock. And maybe a final question, Titus, what about if I can use my own example, I'm an employee of the NSE and I want to trade on the NSE. Now, as relates to the safe days and non-safe days, do we also have a case whereby I can invest in other shares? Does it only apply to me for NSE, or maybe it is also for other counters?
I think if I got your question right, I think there's a clear distinction between the NSE employees and the employees of another listed company. And the reason is for the NSE, we handle the information from all the issuers. So for NSE staff who handle information from different issuers, then there's a clear policy on how they're supposed to handle that information, because, for example, from where I sit, I always have access to information which is not yet public. So I'm not expected to take advantage of that information and try to trade in the market. An example would be, I might get a submission about a transaction that is likely to happen in the market about maybe a bank or something, and then the market is not yet aware, and I go and trade on the shares of some company. So we are more, as NSE, we are more stringent because there's a lot more material non-public information that flows through the exchange because of the nature of our work. So we are very clear in terms of how employees of the exchange are supposed to trade in the shares of all the listed companies, but most importantly, the NSE.
So I was actually asking for a friend, maybe someone is in Kakuzi. So it's elaborate what an NSE staff can do, but maybe say I'm in Kakuzi. What would be the restriction? Can I trade in shares of other companies, even if maybe we're in the unsafe period?
I think I need to add some other aspect in terms of insider trading. For anyone from Kakuzi, you can trade in another share in the market with no worry, because I think you should be worried about Kakuzi only. But for the other shares, you can freely trade. But again, I need to add a radar. In terms of insider trading, we also speak of close relations. So if you're an employee of Kakuzi and you have a wife in NSE, then you have more responsibility than anyone else, because you are likely to interact and have additional information. So the point I'm going to drive is when we're speaking of insider trading, we also looking at the close family members. So as an employee, we are looking at, if you are trading in Kakuzi shares, it's not just about you, it's about even your own wife and children, because you stay in one place and you are likely to disclose information, and maybe your son or your sister or your wife is likely to go and trade that particular share without even informing you. So there's also a level of responsibility in terms of what you are supposed to disclose when you are dealing with very market sensitive information. So the key here is you should be able to evaluate and be careful about the close relations, especially family.
Awesome. So thank you very much. So that is Titus Kiilu. Titus Kiilu heads our regulatory affairs at the NSE. And of course, he has been able to elaborate on some of the safeguards. So whether if you're a listed company, you cannot trade on shares of your own company during the period where you have access to different data. But after that period, you can feel free to still buy your own shares. And some of you have employee shareholder share owners schemes. So that is still okay, but within the regulated standards, maybe the time that is actually good to do that. But you can be able to trade any other share for another company as long as you don't have undue advantage. And the role of maybe such regulations is to make sure that anybody who's coming into the market, they can do in a free, transparent, and a fair manner. So they don't want other people to have maybe undue advantage. And that's where when this material information, maybe the change of maybe management or strategy and something like that, then that, and you are privy to that as an employee, then that would give you undue advantage over other people, because it's a public market and it's open to other people. So we want to make sure that we have a credible, free and fair and transparent trading platform. So thank you very much, Bwana Titus. He had some other engagements, so we started off with him, but it's also good to get clear, especially on the regulatory side, so that now when we get into the meat of it, when you get to now the investment, at least that one is taken care of. I don't know if maybe you had a question. Please make sure, especially to do with regulation on insider trading, you can feel free to be able to ask us, or even to just send in your comment or your question, and he'll sit in for a few minutes before he goes. But I'll turn on to Daniel Gikandi from Francis Drummond, Broker 001, and he did mention about they are one of the sponsoring brokers of the Kenya Pipeline IPO. But before we go there, I'd just like some basics. Yeah, what does it, our topic is simple. Yes. It's direct. How do you make money? What are some good, how do you prepare yourself in investing in the stock market so that you actually make money? Because you have people who've unfortunately lost money in the stock market, and others have really made money. So we are trusting your counsel. Maybe you can be able to elaborate. What are the things that someone should look out for when you want to invest, so that you invest in a safe way for the long term, but also you are on the better side of making money? Thank you very much, and over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Wagema. I think these are exciting times to be an investor, and also in the stock market, because there's a lot of awareness and information around how you can build your wealth in the capital markets. And I'm going to touch on building your wealth in capital markets, because that is what eventually creates value for yourself, your hard-earned income, and also for your children. So to build wealth in the capital markets, one is you need to make a conscious decision that this is the way to go, that this is where you need to build your wealth. And I want to appreciate Titus for that very elaborate discussion around the regulation, that your wealth in the markets is well protected, it's well regulated. NSE makes sure that the trading platform is fair, the information is available to everyone at the same time, and CMA is there to make sure that all the rules and regulations are followed. So as one of the oldest brokers in the market, what do I have to discuss about building wealth? One is about investment in shares. And these are listed shares. Something you can just, even from a very simple Google platform, you can go and check the listed shares. And in shares, there are two ways you can make money. One is capital gains. Capital gains, I will talk to shares like KCB, and I just want you to go and do your own research. Barely six months ago, KCB has gained about 55% on the share value alone. So you can imagine the people who came into the market just about 6 months ago on that share, and look at the capital gains that they have made. Even your own SACCO dividend, because I know right now is when most SACCOs are declaring dividends. For the whole year, I don't think you've done 55%. Another share you can just quickly check on your own is DTB. DTB barely 1-2 months ago was below 100 shillings. Now we are north of 160. So again, another indication of how you can make your money in the capital markets. But there's something I also want to talk to in terms of long-term view when you come to invest in the shares market. And the long-term view means sometimes you will buy a share, and for example, just take an example of the ones I have mentioned, like DTB, you'll probably buy it at 70 shillings. And after you do your investment, the next day you check and find it is 69.5. So what do you do as an investor? Do you panic? Do you sell? The answer is no, because it's not a straight line. But the gain over time, if you look at the trend, you are going to see that based on the market fundamentals, the earnings, the dividends, the strategy of the company, eventually that share is going to gain value, and now you are going to make your capital gains. So when you come to the market, do not come as a panic investor. That tomorrow something small happens and you are panic selling. You take the long-term view because that is where you build wealth. Coming to the stock market, you are coming to build wealth. You're not coming to act on hearsay, which takes me to my next point. As an investor, invest in looking for information. Do not invest in feelings, do not invest in hearsay, invest in looking for information. And even when we go to the sector about KPC, I am going to use the information available right now in the market even to help you show how you can easily look at some of it, just the simple fundamentals to tell you whether it's a good share you should consider or not. And the information is freely available in the market. For example, even you just look at the returns, like the financial sector in Kenya has returned at the NSE from a capital gains perspective over time. You'll be able to see, is this a good sector to invest in or not? Look for that information. Read, companies are always issuing reports. Please read them and read them thoroughly. Where you don't understand, that is where we come in. Investment banks, brokers, we have been in the market for so long. We know what information means and how to interpret it and how to help you make a decision. So be that person who invests in decision making by looking for information, and it's freely available. The third point I wanted to touch on in building your wealth in the capital markets is around dividends. And dividend, I would say, is wealth hiding in plain sight. It's there for you, it's open, but we are just not looking at it. And I will use a very simple example. If you look at what most circles are declaring as dividends for the year close to 2025, you'll find 6%, 7% after having invested in your shares for the whole last year. Take a share like Stanchart, look at the dividend yield, compare, it's at 13%. So where are you better off? Investing your money in at 6% or investing in a share that is giving you a dividend yield of 13%. So that's the information I'm saying as an investor you need to compare. Come to the market, don't be narrow-minded. Open your thinking and look for where your hard-earned shilling is going to get the best return. So the next question that I want to address is about liquidity. Because the question is, if I put in my investment today and I need cash tomorrow, can I get it? The market is open the whole week. So as soon as you sell your shares, in some instances, you'll get your money immediately. 1 or 2 days, you have the funds with you. And just to stretch that, you can also invest in government securities, bonds, bills. But I want to talk more about bonds. Again, for you to smell out an opportunity in government bonds, we call it risk-free investing because the government will almost always now pay your investment after your bond has matured, and the interest income that you have invested in is assured. You are going to get it. But then, as an investor, you ask yourself a question. I have bought into a 10-year bond, and by the third year, I need money. So do I have to wait for the 10 years? And that's where we come in as the market intermediaries, as the investment banks, as the brokers. You do not have to wait for the 10 years. There's a secondary market available for that bond. You will come, give instructions, you are going to sell your bond, and you will have gained. You will have earned the interest for the time you have held the bond, and also the valuation could favor you, and you actually make a capital gain out of it. So the markets are open, they are well regulated, and we welcome you to come and invest in the capital markets. And thank you, NSE, for facilitating this and giving us the forum to explain.
No, you're very much welcome, and we'll be delving more on those points. So I like some of the key points that he has mentioned. When you're investing, it's good to have an investment plan, long-term, and also based on your risk profile, you should be able to have an investment plan so that you're actually guided by the plan and not just by knee-jerk opportunities that are there. That way it becomes better for you as you're investing, and you stay on track. So you're not distracted. I like the point he made that when you see your share price is going down, don't panic sell. Still hold on. He also talked about the place of information. Information is very key. Whenever you're investing, you want to be an informed investor. Look at the company, what is happening. I think Warren Buffett says, invest in what you know. Don't invest in what you don't know. And of course, we'll also have a time where we will be looking at that. He also talked about also the wealth that is hidden in plain sight. Those are dividends. Know the dividends that are available. And finally, of course, he talked about liquidity. You can come in, you can also get out. And before Titus gets out, there are some questions that have come in, and I think they are regulatory in nature. And these are with more people investing via mobile apps, how is regulation keeping up with fintech growth? So there's a question from the audience, and like we said, we want to encourage interaction even as we are here with the panel. So there was a first one that is talking about with more people investing via mobile apps, how is regulation keeping up with fintech growth? And then also there is what structural barriers are we not being honest about when we talk about inclusion? Yeah, so I think someone is suspecting when you talk about financial inclusion, there are some structural barriers that are not being honest. But over to you, Titus.
Okay, thank you very much, Wagema. And to answer the first question around the growth of the new channels into the market, we have a robust risk framework which protect investors. We have daily surveillance, actually live surveillance of the market, and we also review trades after the trade day just to support the daily surveillance. So there are robust risk management frameworks to just look at the way the market is behaving, and also look at the individual investors if we believe they are likely to impact the price in terms of manipulation, and also in terms of the way they are behaving in the market. So in short, we do daily and active market surveillance, and in addition to that, we have a proper risk framework to look at the market. The second one is about inclusion, and I want to capture it in a different ways. And when we speak of inclusion, is for a very long time, I think most of the Kenyans have kept off the capital market, as opposed to other markets like China, India, and the rest. And the reason is, I don't think the reason is really about affordability or about the technology, but I think the reason is lack of knowledge and maybe financial literacy. So with Zidi, and I know all the other brokers also coming up with other tools to support trading in the market, and also conversations around the trading in the stock market. I think the conversation we are having around Safaricom, conversations around KPC, I think they are healthy conversations, and they are driving the conversation into the market. And we believe for all those investors who are going to look for information, then they are likely to get the information that they want in terms of trading. But again, we believe it's very important, like what we are doing today, to engage the investors, to be able to take them through what happens in the market, and I think from there we go deeper into what they are like, how they are likely to, how they are supposed to approach the market. But I think in the short of it is the lack of inclusion is as a result of lack of information. And what we are doing today is the first step of trying to drive that information to investors. And then the other one is we're also driving a lot of conversation around disclosures for listed companies. I remember from 2024, we mandated all the listed companies to provide forward-looking calendars. And the purposes for these calendars is to enable the investors to anticipate when certain information might have an impact on the shares of these companies, and also provide information on investors as to when they can actually avail themselves and ask the right questions. So the key here is it's very important to look for information around all the companies that you're interested in. Participate if you're a shareholder in the AGMs. Participate in the investor briefings that these companies are having, and by doing that, I think this is going to support you in terms of decision making. But I think the most important thing is for you to look for information in all the counters that you are interested in.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, so even you've had it from our regulator. So on the two questions, one, of course, the latter being on inclusion. So we are doing everything we can, and what makes people not to be included is lack of information, and that's why we have a forum like this. So you want to get all the information that you can be able to get, so that you can be able to to trade well. And then, so there are no structural barriers. What you need to break down is that lack of information. And then, of course, he gave us the assurance earlier on to the first question that we have a robust surveillance platform at NSC, at CMA, that is also checking on malpractices, including those on fintech. So thank you very much, Titus. We sincerely appreciate your input and also the guidance that you've shared with us. So thank you very much. And we'll be turning on to the lady who is on the panel. At least we are gender inclusive. Sophie Njao, it's good to have you all the way from Kestrel. Kestrel is a broker that is behind the Zidi trader, and we are privileged to have Sophie with us, and she'll be answering all the questions that we have. There's already a question that has come, but allow you to introduce yourself and tell us, what is Zidi? And I called her Mama Zidi because she's the one who is running with the project, but you can tell us more about it and maybe how that still works within the framework of the capital markets. Karibu sana.
Okay, thank you, Agema. Thank you for having me. So when it comes to Zidi and how Zidi came about, we're looking at ways that we will have inclusivity, which means including everyone, and everyone can be able to participate in the capital markets in terms of trading. And okay, I think people have a perception that investing in the stock market, it's for the chosen few. But with this Zidi platform, it gives access to everyone. Meaning, we looked at people have mobile phones, and wherever you are, you'll be able to trade and participate and even invest with the money that you have. So it doesn't mean that you have to have like a lot of money to be able to invest in the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Even as little as 500, you will be able to invest in the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Yeah.
No, I like that. And actually, we've tackled the question about structural barriers to actually coming in. And Zidi is one of those. It's an innovative product of Kestrel and Safaricom that have actually come up with it. And we'll be having activations also even on the same. And I know you did announce, of course, we know we are towards the tail end of the Kenya Pipeline Corporation IPO. And I'm sure both of you are participating in it. So maybe we can get more insights. Maybe from your earlier discussion, would it be something that you'd recommend? Would you want to take us through how do you go about it, maybe assessing it, and feel free to share any insights that you have. So Francis Drummond is one of the sponsoring brokers that is working on the IPO. Daniel from Francis Drummond, over to you.
I think before I delve into KPC, I just want to add strength to a comment that my colleague has made here about investing with what you have. Yeah, so the little money that you have is adequate to start your investment journey. Recently, I think late last year, towards December last year, we had a client who walked into offices 4 years ago with about 3,000 shillings. And he wanted to understand what opportunities are there for him. He was from Kisii. He wanted to understand what opportunities are there for him to invest. We gave him the guidance and he started his journey. And 3-4 years down the line, I was making out his payout for him of about 2 million shillings. And he was very happy. You know, you could see the delightment in terms of having made the decision to invest the little he had and the value that the market has created for him over time. So what he would do is he would go get another 5,000 shillings, come add to his portfolio, and eventually when he was cashing out, it was about 2 million shillings. So the little you have is adequate for you to come to the market.
So how did they make 2 million?
Yeah, when he was cashing out, it was 2 million.
And how much did they put in?
It was over time, but I remember he started with 3,000 shillings.
Oh, from 3,000.
Yes.
Yeah, so to debunk the fact that you can actually start wherever you are, even if you are starting with 3,000, there's no limit. Actually, today you can buy even one share within the stock market, so there's no barrier. So the key thing is to get started. I think there's a Chinese saying that I think is also African, that the best time to invest is 20 years ago. The next best is now. Continue.
Thank you very much. So we can now look into the details of the KPC IPO, and I will just demystify, simplify the whole discussion around an IPO. So an IPO is simply a way of introducing shares to the market, where a company like KPC is offering them for sale to the public, but the holder of those shares is the government of Kenya. So it's actually the government of Kenya who are selling their shares, through the privatization authority, and they are selling those shares to the general public, to organizations, to international investors, and also to East Africa investors. Today I will touch more on the local investors, whether you want to invest as a company, as a chama, or as an individual. The share is 9 shillings, which makes it very attractive. And one of the key objectives of having this share in the market at 9 shillings is inclusivity, to make sure that every Kenyan has a chance to own a piece of KPC. The minimum shares you can apply for is 100 shares, which again talks to the discussion we are talking about coming in with the little you have, which means with as little as 900 shillings, you can be able to come in and invest into Kenya Pipeline Company. So how has the allocation been done? The retail and individual investors, that is the Kenyans, mwananchi, will get 20% of that, of the offer. And then the local companies and the chamas will get the other 20%. Then the other one is distributed among OMCs, KPC employees, the foreign investors, and East Africa investors.
So who are these OMCs?
The OMCs are the oil marketing companies, and they form a very key part of the KPC ecosystem because they are the customers of Kenya Pipeline Company. Remember, Kenya Pipeline Company is a logistics and distribution company. They do transport of petroleum products, and they also do storage, but they do not have their own product. This product is owned by the oil marketing companies. A good example is what you see on your streets, the Shell, the Total, the Rubies. Those are the oil marketing companies, and they have a very big in terms of interest and part of the KPC ecosystem, and they have been given their own allocation so that they can also be able to participate as the key customers. I think when I come to show the details of the IAM, I am going to show the whole list so that you can also be able to relate KPC's business and who are their key customers. So you can invest in as low as 900 shillings. And the way to invest is USSD and also on the online platform. We are going to demonstrate those two platforms of how you can buy the shares. Of course, you need a CDS account. That's a key requirement. So if you do not have a CDS account, you need to open one as soon as now. We are already late. The IPO is closing on the 19th, that is Thursday. So let us not wait until Thursday is when we are rushing to go and open CDS accounts and investing. Let us do that today.
All right, thank you very much. Daniel, of course, he's shared. You can actually use a USSD code. Maybe you'll share the details and maybe that can be shared across. And also there is an online platform, I believe, from the KPC website. You can be able to access that. So Daniel is one of the leads, one of the sponsoring brokers under the KPC transaction. And he has told us even how you can get to access. I had a final question and I can see you've been joined by Kawira. Kawira, you're very much welcome. Awesome. Let me give you, you can have a mic. Awesome. So Kawira is joining us from Safaricom. You can just introduce yourself as we go along.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kawira, and today I'm going to be supporting the panel and hopefully our listeners to understand how they can participate in the KPC IPO using the M-Pesa app.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you. You're right on time because he's just given us one avenue of participating. We shall also be looking at the M-Pesa app where we have the Zidi trader. And so it will be an interesting discussion. So for today, and even maybe you've also joined us at this particular time, maybe it is your lunch break and you've just gotten in. We want to be on a panel webinar on how to make money through the stock market with a special feature on the KPC IPO. And also we have the Zidi trader. So we'll be looking at that and we want you to get sufficient information so that you can make a quality decision. So we are here, Daniel is from an investment bank and he's also sharing more light on it. So I'll come back to you, Daniel, before I come to Sophie. who shall tell us how to also maybe use the Zidi trader, and also Kawira will also complement on the same. So on your side, why should I buy KPC? Is it going to help me make money? Is it about dividend? What is it about? Why should I, as a retail person, be bothered about it? And then there's a question that came in from the audience, and they were asking if maybe I live from paycheck to paycheck. If I live from paycheck to paycheck, what guarantee do I have that this is a good investment for me to be able to engage in? So there's that question. If I live from paycheck to paycheck, is it also a good investment? Thank you. Over to you.
Okay, thank you, Agema. I think I will speak to the conscience of the person who talks about paycheck to paycheck. Investment is a decision that you make and commit to it, which means it is something good that you are looking at for the next maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And whatever the reason it is that that is making you invest, is it maybe to go back to school after a year? Is it to invest in property later on? So whatever decision that is making you come into the investment market means you also need to make a sacrifice. And therefore, from your paycheck, you have to sacrifice something at the end of every month and put it in the capital markets, in the stock market, and look at information on what share or what counter speaks to you and your investment journey. So it is something that is good, and I would actually encourage that person to start investing today.
Yeah, so they also added, and how do you balance investing with financial safety? So they live from paycheck to paycheck. How do they also balance financial safety?
Financial safety comes from looking at the risk of the options that you are picking for investment. And today, from the capital markets perspective, from a risk perspective, I look at 2 options. One is investment in securities or shares. That is the riskier side in terms of a risk matrix if you are to profile them. Again, it's an investment like government securities, which is very, very risk-free. So if you want to balance your risk or your investment security, I would look at the 2 options. Put some of your investment in shares and put some of your investment in government securities. And remember, earlier on I said that even investment in government securities means when you need the money, you can come, we'll sell your bonds in the secondary market and you'll get back your liquidity. So I would balance the 2 if I'm looking for safety. But if I'm looking for growth, then I would probably lean more on the riskier side and come to the securities market.
Yeah, so the higher the risk, the higher the return. That's how they say in terms of investing. And also, he talked about having a portfolio, a balanced portfolio. They say don't put all your eggs in one basket. So if you are living from paycheck to paycheck, you also want to also balance the risk so that you don't end up losing all the money that you have. And then onto the KPC IPO. Why should someone buy? And maybe what are your views? What are your insights? Is it a dividend stock? Is the IPO a good time? Can I come in later? Maybe during the secondary market? Why should I bother even to start now? Anyway, over to you.
Before I go to the point of whether I should buy KPC or not, I will want to walk the journey in making that decision, because as an investor, that is what you should invest in. KPC is being offered at 9 shillings, which from an investor perspective, I think that's a good price, because it means from an affordability perspective, it's a share that I can afford with as little as 900 shillings. So that ticks the first box. Then the next question I ask myself is, what exactly is KPC as an organization? Because when I'm investing in the KPC share, I'm actually investing in KPC as an organization. What do they do? So KPC is in a very unique strategic position as an asset. It's the key sole distributor of petroleum products in the region through a pipeline. There's no other. And I ask myself is, then would they have competitors? That's the next question I ask myself. And the barrier to entry of building a pipeline is so humongous, it's so big that they are a monopoly that would not have competition in the foreseeable future. So in terms of assuring KPC of the business, then the infrastructure and the investment and the barrier to entry is so high that it's an organization that will be offering those services for as long as we require petroleum products. So yes, in terms of a strategic asset then it's an asset that I would want to invest in as an investor. Then how have they performed over time? KPC has consistently paid dividends. If you look at the prospectus and the information memorandum, they've paid dividends from the year 2021 and even as late as 2025, had some dividend to the investors. So if I'm looking for a dividend share, then KPC is one of them. In terms of margins, how is the business in terms of margins? And I'm going to show the numbers.
I want us to break it down for our audience.
Yes.
You know, there are some who are watching who are first-time investors. So when you talk about maybe some of these words like margins, you mean the profit, you can just break it down even as we get along. And also our audience, please do not be intimidated. This is your day. So we want to make sure that if you have any question, we want to keep it as simple as possible for you to make a good informed decision. So please, let's keep the questions flowing. Let's keep the comments coming. Over to you, Daniel.
Actually, Wagema, even before I go to margins, let me speak to profitability because I think that's what most of us will easily relate to. Yes, KPC has been a very profitable company and they have been paying dividends from the profits that they have actually generated over time. The other metric I will want to talk to is cash flows because you want to invest in an organization that the quality of profits is well spoken to about by the cash that they generate. As at the close of 2025, we're talking about cash reserves of 12 billion. So that's the share that I am talking to investors in terms of what to look into. Then, do they have risks? As an investor, I need to ask myself that question. What risks are in the business that KPC is participating in? Yes, they are there. They are the constraints to this business. One of them is the fluctuation of petroleum prices. That one, even every 14th of the month, we are eagerly waiting to see what EPRA is going to release. So that speaks to KPC's business because when the price of petroleum products are very high in the market, it means demand goes low. But it has shown demand for petroleum products over time has grown, which means that KPC's business is something that is growth oriented. The other one is a question that has come many times in terms of where we are going as a world in terms of the sources of energy, fossil fuels versus clean energy. So I would want to ask myself, when I read the information memorandum, are the management conscious of that constraint?
So what is an information memorandum? You know, here we are going the basic. Yeah, we really want to understand, but you can just go ahead, please. Go ahead. Don't mind.
Yes, thank you. So the information memorandum is a detailed document that talks about the offer price of the KPC share. It details about the company's business, their financial performance, what strategies the company has for the next 5 years. There's a 5-year strategy. It's well laid out. And I would encourage every investor to go in and read that information memorandum. It's a public document. It's available. If I get time, I will even show some of these discussions that I'm having, yes, where you can actually go and read for yourself. And if you do not understand, feel free to call me. I am going to explain to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So there you have it. Of course, it's an IM. We say an informed investor is a powerful investor. It's someone who can actually empower to make the right decisions. So it is our responsibility. And that's why they spend a lot of money to actually publish that information memorandum, soft, and also, of course, there's a hard copy. And when you get to go through it, you'll be able to understand the intricacies of it. And also, like a stockbroker or an investment bank, they are there to also guide you maybe on what to look at. And maybe later on, we'll be able to look at some of the key aspects of that. So thank you very much, Daniel. I know we've been on you. Now it's time, at least we can see we are gender balance on the panel. So Sophie and Kawira, karibuni sana. Yeah, so we look at now, he showed us how you can be able to invest through the USSD and also online on the KPC website, but also we have Zidi. Sophie did tell us that how Zidi operates and all that. Maybe how does one get started? And maybe from a KPC point of view, I understand that one can actually trade using the Zidi to buy the IPO. How is the process? We are really eager. And of course, we are here to be guided by you guys.
Okay, thank you, Agema. So for the KPC IPO, we, in collaboration with Safaricom, we came up with a module that investors will be able to apply for the KPC IPO without opening or having a CDS account. And what happens, they will log in into their M-Pesa app, And then they will go to the landing page. It will take them to the landing page, and then they'll go to the financial services, go on to Zidi Trader. After going to Zidi Trader, on the landing page of Zidi Trader, they'll be able to see a part, like a module that shows the KPC IPO. So you can select the number of shares that you want to buy, and the price is at 9 shillings. And then the funds are deducted directly from your M-Pesa wallet, and then it's submitted now for the application. So we try to see a way where we can, how I said it before, inclusivity, to be able to make every investor, even the one who lives further away from Nairobi, and they can be able to participate in the IPO, and making it easy for everyone, and not even having like a CDS account, but be able to participate in the IPO. And I feel like this is the first IPO, correct me if I'm wrong, that has been done through an app in the Nairobi Securities Exchange.
Yes, yes. For our shares, this is indeed the very first one, and it is the first e-IPO that we are having. Of course, earlier on we had a Makiba where people are able to use the mobile phone, but this time we have the first, and that is Zidi Trader. As she is speaking, I don't know about you, but I'm already on my phone. I have gone to that M-Pesa, and I'm actually looking at, I've logged into the M-Pesa app, so make sure you already have that. Some key points that she has mentioned is that you do not per se need to have a CDS account, even to get started. What they are doing as Kestrel, they actually are going to be, I think it's called an omnibus.
Yes.
They're going to aggregate all the people who are coming in through M-Pesa and then buying and purchasing for you. So I'm already on the M-Pesa app, and I'm already, I think I should go to financial services,
Yes.
Zidi Trader.
Yes.
Yeah, and then of course it is asking me for my PIN. Please don't look at me. I hope you're also doing the same. And then we should actually be going there. I've put in my PIN, and I'm already waiting for authentication. It tells me, welcome to Zidi Trader, powered by M-Pesa. And then I can be able to see, there's I don't know if maybe there's an activation video for this. Maybe that we can be able to show people, Annette or even Kawira, so that people can follow, so that I'm not just alone in case someone, sometimes I'm told I move very fast. So I want to make sure we are with everybody, but maybe you can guide if you're on the right process.
Yes, you are. So far, Sophie, you're doing a great job. You are.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Kama unaweza kutuma, kureceive ama kulipa na M-Pesa, now you can invest in shares on the Nairobi Securities Exchange with Zidi Trader ndani ya M-Pesa app. No forms, no waiting. Anza hata na share moja. Alafu unauliza uanzie wapi? Cheki, download your M-Pesa app pale Play Store. Ndani ya M-Pesa app, chagua Zidi Trader under Financial Services. Safi. Soma terms and conditions. Ukiwa sawa, accept. Hapa homepage, select buy stocks. Search or select your preferred share kwa list ya stocks. Afterwards, eka the number of shares you want to buy. Anza hata na share moja. Finally, enter your secret M-Pesa PIN. Na Zidi Trader powered by M-Pesa, hakuna forms na hakuna waiting. Anza leo by downloading the M-Pesa app.
Buy and sell orders will be completed subject to a buy and sell match. All buy requests not settled by the end of the trading period will be refunded back to your M-Pesa wallet.
Awesome. So I hope you've been able to see the video and you're conversant. So from your M-Pesa app, you can actually be able to buy and sell shares through the Zidi Trader. And that is a remarkable innovation that has come courtesy of Safaricom. And we have Kawira here with us, and also Sophie from Kestrel. So the two organizations have come together. And of course, the NSE is participating, and we are really glad to be able to have that. So you are able to see how you can buy and sell shares. And they have added a new module, like Sophie has said, that allows you to be able to buy the IPO. So before we took that break, I was actually on my Zidi Trader. So I hope you're also there and you've been able to actually come back. And I think there's a lot of safety that is embedded in this. By the time I moved out, it has already locked and is asking for my PIN. So you don't need to worry about security concerns because that is well taken care of. So when you go to financial services, you can go to the Zidi Trader, put in your PIN, which you should always ensure that it is a secret. So I've actually logged in and I can be able to see the option that allows me to buy the IPO. So Sophie, maybe, and Kawira, you can take us. So when you are buying there, it says that Kenya Pipeline Company announces its IPO set for 19th set for 19th Jan 2026. Of course, that was when it was opening. And of course, if you'd like to go to trading, you have to click on go to trading, and then you'll see a number of securities. So how do I pick, maybe from the app, where do I buy the IPO? Because I'm now in. Okay, Kawira.
Okay, cool. So I can handhold, eh?
Yes,
I can
please.
handhold. And I know when we develop the products, they are typically very intuitive. So imagine you don't need a tutorial. You actually don't need anyone to help you. I'm just showcasing because I know this is the first time that you're doing it.
Yes.
So this is where I am. I am on the landing page, right?
Yes.
Okay. You can see here, Kenya Pipeline IPO.
Yes.
Go to IPO. Hata inakwambia, go
Oh.
to IPO.
Hey, guess what? I was lost. I'd
You
already
were
gone to
lost.
trade.
Usiende
Yeah, so
kutrade.
that's why I was getting a
Ukifika
bit
tu
confused.
nyumbani.
Yeah, so I go to the home
Go
and then
to
I go to IPO.
Precisely. It
Yes.
details everything for you.
Oh my.
In fact,
Yes.
all you need to do is hit the place bid.
Yes.
The price, as Daniel told us already, is 9
Yes.
shillings. Sindio?
Yes.
It is the same even on the app. We are not
Oh.
going to ask for a single additional cent.
Yes.
The same 9 bob that IPO goes for is the same 9 bob per unit that will be entered here.
Wow.
So hata hatukwambii uingishe price. So the only thing we are asking guys to do
Yes.
is to enter how many shares they want to bid for. Of course, Daniel, your guidance is lots of 100. Sindio? So 100, 100, 100, 100. Sindio? So that's all we are asking you to enter. Any you want. So you can buy 101. Cool. So you come
Wow.
and enter your 101.
Okay, I can see it tells me that the status is open. So that
Precisely.
means the IPO is open, and I can see the critical date is that it's closing this Thursday, 19th. Yeah, 19th, that's when it will be closing. And of course, there'll be allocation of results that will be there by 4th of March. So that's when we will know whether I have it or not.
Yes.
And then the crediting of shares, it will reflect on Friday, March the 6th, 2026. And then on March 9th, it will be listing on the NSE. So I've seen all that information, and like you've told me, I have clicked, I want to buy, and I can see it tells me there's 2 days and 3 hours left. Then you're counting plus the hours. Yeah, so
okay.
please, if you're watching, we don't have much time. I actually discussed with my wife and we agreed we are going to buy. So I want to go ahead confidently. And I can see the offer price, and I want to go ahead and enter the number of lots. So if I wanted to invest, say, maybe like 100,000, so I'll divide that by,
There's no math.
there's no math.
Math tumekufanyia. Remember, what you're trying to do is to keep things very simple.
Yes.
So hatutaki ufanye math. The
Yes.
system will do the math for you.
Oh my.
All we need from you is desire.
Yes.
I want to participate.
Yes.
If you want to participate,
Yes.
the platform is there.
Okay.
And the other beauty is,
Yes.
Daniel, you spoke about last minute. Tungoje hadi Thursday. Here's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
When you're trying to do your bid or to place your bid with Zidi Trader,
Yeah.
you can do it 24/7.
Yes.
So you complain, I'm busy, the workload is heavy during the day.
Yes.
It's okay. Hata ukiwa kwa traffic too.
Yes.
And you feel like
Hapo labda kuna mtu anatuwatch
Yes.
na ako kwa traffic.
Yes.
Anasema hata ukiwa hapo unaweza nunua.
you can do it.
Oh my.
You can do it as many times as you want also.
Yes.
So if you do this and during lunchtime you're like me, I don't want to spend my money on and I want to do Y.
Yes.
As many times as you want.
Yes.
24/7.
Yes.
The only limitation we have is your typical M-Pesa daily transaction limit.
Oh, okay.
Lakini sikifika 12 midnight ina reset.
Yes, yes.
So you go back and do the same thing again.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that means you can actually be buying and what are the M-Pesa limits?
500K.
500K. So you can put in 500K today, another 500K tomorrow. Then you have your melee in this strategic asset, and then on that day, your final 500. Yeah, so that is really good. And also how much you have on M-Pesa, because I wanted to do my 100 and then it is telling me, Buana. Yes,
Top
so
up.
I need to top up. So if I wanted to, let me try something smaller, then this should be fun. So I put the number of shares that I want, and then I should be able to buy. I hope you are doing the same wherever you are. Please don't miss the opportunity. Don't say you'll do it later. Do it now. You know, we have a term here. We say there's a bias to action. If something is worth doing well, and it is worth doing now. So let's go ahead and invest. So maybe have you guys invested?
So I'll answer that. I know those are very personal, private questions, but even beyond us, what we are trying to do is to make sure that Kenyans have the platform to participate. Sophie, you said it is the first IPO where you don't have to get out of your house. Hakuna form unajaza. There's no ati kuna traffic, I'm going somewhere. No forms. Hakuna hata moja. You have your M-Pesa account, you have your M-Pesa app, you're well sorted. Again, 247. During the day, at night, ata NSC wakifunga the bows. Us guys are
They
like,
close at 3.
hii ingine
Yes,
24
that
for the
one is
IPO.
24/7.
For the
And that's-
IPO.
Yeah, and that's really a game changer. So for this IPO, 24 hours, 7 days a week, you can still go to your M-Pesa app and still get to purchase. So that's a real game changer. So you want to take advantage. I'm still proceeding with mine. Maybe any other more tips?
Or maybe to sensitize the people is it closes, yes, on the 19th, but it won't be 24 hours. It's 19th at 5 p.m.
Oh,
Yes, it's at
oh,
5
at 5 p.m.
Yes. So on the 19th, please do it before 5 p.m. Yeah.
Yeah, so me, I've just done it right now. I'm putting my M-Pesa pin, and I hope it will deduct on M-Pesa, and I'm already a shareholder. Yeah, so thank you very much. Yeah, so thank you. So that's very important. You need to know that the activation is between now and 19th at 5 p.m. close of business. So don't come while it is open 24/7. You want to make sure that you are able to still engage. And I'm really keen, and I'm looking if there are any questions that have come in from the different people who are there. And I can see already some questions that are there. So I'll read the question, and the panel can feel free to also respond. I am new to the stock market. How do I know what shares to buy and when, especially with Zidi?
Okay, cool. So this is what we're doing, and I'm going to go back to the purpose behind having Zidi Trader as part of the offering that M-Pesa have. We have a strong belief in transforming lives, right? So transforming lives. Today, your typical Kenyan will invest in livestock, they'll invest in real estate, they'll invest in their side hustle, whatever else they can. But you know this because you work at the NSC, what the percentage of Kenyans participating in capital markets is, right? So what M-Pesa...
We actually have only 200,000 before Zidi, 200,000 active retail. That's a small amount compared to the 33 million M-Pesa users.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So then what we are coming and what we are presenting as an opportunity to Kenyans is this. We've been able to send money. You have received money. You make a payment somewhere when you buy your maji or you buy your chai, right? Now we are saying, imagine if you can M-Pesa. These financial markets are no longer just a perceived preserve of the people who have broker, nawao, or who have the financial knowledge. If you're a Kenyan who wants to start participating in the financial markets, now you can. So if you can M-Pesa, now you can participate in the NSC. Now to the user's question, how do I know? Where do I start? I think part of our commitment is to education. And I know we are going to do this with our brokerage community, with the NSC as our partner, with Kestrel as our partner. So that element of education, we are not just going to tell you, here's a platform, go and do it. We will enable you to participate by giving you the knowledge that you need to start participating. And I think as early as either this week or next week, we are going to have our first education space that is open to all Kenyans. And we are like, if you want to start participating in financial markets, just come and listen to what Daniel knows about participating in financial markets. So he's an opinion leader. He's an authority in that space. He will come, not charged, for free. He will say, this is what you need to do. this is how I weigh my risk. This is how I set my objectives. Are they long term? Are they short term? Because there is some thinking that is involved when it comes to capital markets. What are the risks? And that's a very valid question. This is somebody who I can tell is at Apple, at the precipice.
yes.
Ako karibu kuanza,
I know.
but they're like, why counter A versus counter B?
Yes.
So that's our commitment. We will handhold. We've given you the platform, but we're going to handhold you so that you have the confidence to start doing this and it becomes familiar.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the commitment from Safaricom. They'll be rolling out investor education in conjunction, of course, with different partners, NSC, the brokerage, investment banks, so that you can be confident. But the key thing is that you can now access the market. And also, like Daniel had mentioned, and now that he's here, maybe you can also, wanted to say changia, or also contribute to this question. How do I know which one to buy or not, which one to sell? I know Sophie's also here. You can also feel free. Maybe some tips, even as we look at that.
Okay, for the first time investor, and thank you Agema for that guidance. I would say always start safe in terms of the risk appetite. And if you look at the securities that are trading at the Nairobi Securities Exchange, there are organizations that you can relate to in two aspects. One, if you look at the profitability over time, there are those companies that have consistently posted good profits for the last 4 or 5 years. Management is sound. They have good strategy. And I'll take a good example of my friends Safaricom.
Yes.
You know, their strategy is out there for us to.
Yes, I know that they have Zidi Trader.
And
Yes.
Zidi Trader is even bringing in more money. So
Yes.
look at that conversation, consistent profit making, and that's a good guidance in terms of a good security to invest into. The other one is dividend payments. Those companies that have consistently paid dividends to the investors. It's also a good indicator in terms of which security should I consider if I don't have a lot of information about investment. And also balance your portfolio with government securities.
Yes.
Look at how they are performing, and that is also a safe way to get into the market.
Oh, okay. No, thank you very much. Sophie?
Maybe to add, I think the other thing as well, if you're a new investor, I would advise do your own research as well. Find out about the companies that are on the Nairobi Securities Exchange, look at their performances, look at how they are doing, profits in terms of dividends, and then now maybe after that you can make an informed decision on what to invest in.
Okay, and they asked also a bit of timing. Is there an issue about timing? I know sometimes there are those terms, come dividend, come bonus. When do I buy? And then also generally, you say that you buy when it is low, you sell when it is high. So Daniel had earlier on explained when you want to make money in the stock market, there are primarily two major ways. One is when what we call capital gains. You buy when it is low, you sell when it is high. That difference you actually buy. So maybe we have the display board here and I can see different counters, maybe like Crown. I can see it was going for 30, I think 37. So I can buy today at 37, and when it reaches 70, I can sell. So that difference is what I make. And then also Daniel also did talk about dividends, when they are paying out dividends. So like he did talk about Kenya Pipeline, it has dividends. When it is paying out dividends, then you want to be able to buy. So I think a rule of thumb is that you should buy when maybe there's what we call CAM dividend. When you buy a stock and then they say it is CAM dividend, that means you are entitled to get that dividend. And then when they announce their results, after they've announced their results and finished, then later it goes ex-dividend. That means it does not have a dividend. So you want to make sure you buy when you get that entitlement, especially when you want to do dividends. And of course, you want to buy when it is low. Right now, the whole market is really rallying up, what we call a bull run. So it is making, all of them are increasing. So you want to also get in when it is really good. So is there any other consideration on when to buy, or maybe when you've made your goal? Maybe you wanted to target. You know, sometimes there's greed. And this vice is greed, and when people are greedy, they want to get a lot. Don't be too greedy. If you've made some money, you cash out. Yeah, and maybe I have actually a personal one, and I hope my mom is not watching, because she actually bought some shares in the stock market, and I had a life lesson from it, because she bought, actually it was one of the counters, they are doing an IPO. So it's always good to also do your math, like Sophie has told us. I mean, do your homework rather, and then be able to tell what time it is, whether to buy or not. So she bought Mumias back then, and of course, because this is in the public domain about the share price at 45, and then after some time when the IPO came, it went to 40, and when it came to 40, it started now going down. And then there's this term the journalists like to call a paper loss. You know, big words. So I told my mom, if you sell now, you'll make a paper loss. Why? Because you'll already, you'll actualize that paper loss. Because now it was just a paper loss on paper, but when you sell, you'll actually actualize. So she held on to it. And then after some time, our broker is called. It was now getting to 35. So I told her, now you'll even sell. If you sell now, you'll even make a bigger loss. Actual loss, not paper loss this time. And then it went on to 30. And then by that time now we were thinking, we wish we sold it earlier. And of course, the key thing is that don't be emotional with shares. It's an investment. So you use it to be able to make some gains. And that's why we are saying how to make money. Then it went on until her birthday when she was 60. She still had the Mumia shares. And she had told me she's not coming back to the stock market because of the loss that she had made, because it went to of course, below a shilling. And the thing is this, I got some enlightenment. That was some time way back. Where when you're investing in shares, let your winners run and learn to cut your losses. What that simply means, when is it time to sell? If maybe you're not, it's a losing stock, don't be emotional about it, or the market is going down. Other than panic selling, you can also cut your losses. So that I learned, and then let your winners run means that if you have bought a share and it is continuously increasing, keep it. Let it still go on. It may have the occasional dips and all that, but you want to still keep buying. I hope I've done justice with that wisdom. Yes. But later, of course, she did buy the NSE share, and it was really good when it had the IPO. And of course, it did very well. She was happy, and there was restored confidence. So it's also good to invest in the different shares that are there. So maybe we have, I don't know if you had anything else about timing.
Yes, there's something I wanted to talk to around the analyzing the financial information and doing your own research. Another good time to look at the share you should also consider for the year is the half-year results, because half-year results give you a good indication of which direction a company is going and how their end-year results are likely to look like, and that will help you know whether even the dividend that was paid last year is going to grow or it's going to shrink. So that's also a very good guidance. So do not ignore those half-year results. Read them and use them to make a decision.
Awesome. No, thank you very much for that. And actually, there's a question that has come in, and maybe again, we'll give you maybe some of them. I'll read out the questions, and maybe you can feel free to pick. So the first one is Old Mutual Uganda values the KPC IPO at 4.26, almost half of the 9 shilling offer. What does that valuation gap mean for new investor? Does it signal risk? So that came from someone. And then another person asked, please explain on the term portfolio. Is that how much money one invests in, or how do I know it, or is it or it's growing? No, it's growing. How? Please explain the term portfolio. How is it? How much money someone is investing in? How do I monitor it, and how do I know it is growing? And then another question. I understand that all shareholders who use the Zidi platform will not have voting rights at the company AGM of the stocks they own, since Safaricom will own the stock on their behalf. Please clarify. So good questions. We want to keep it real, keep them coming. Over to your panel.
Let me touch on the valuation, the KPC valuation, because that's also a bit technical. There are many ways of valuing a company, and valuation is you look at many things, and one of them is the ability of a company to generate future cash flows, the ability of a company to pay dividends in the future, and also the business that the company is into, how much of that asset can continue generating money for you. So if you are valuing a company like KPC is a company that is asset heavy, and therefore the valuation method that you are going to pick to value KPC is going to be very different, for example, from valuing a company that deals with services like an insurance company. So I may not exactly speak into the Old Mutual Uganda valuation, but when it came to valuing KPC, what I can assure you is that a very thorough job was done in terms of establishing the asset value of KPC, the business and the strategic value of KPC, the ability to generate cash flows, and by the time the valuation we were arriving at 9 shillings, it was a fair valuation for that share price. So Wagema, I think back to you, but the valuation of KPC in terms of even the journey and the process was very thorough, and it's a fair price at 9 shillings.
All right. Yeah. So of course it is your discretion. Of course, people have varied opinions as analysts and all that. So make an informed decision. And like he's saying, there was a rigorous process that also brought about that particular price. And then also to use your discretion. I think one portion is actually to foreigners, and if you look at it, it's actually a penny stock. It's a penny stock. That means that it is actually valued way below $1. So for many foreigners, and unlike maybe the Safaricom IPO, because I was there when the Safaricom IPO came, it came and then the price dipped, and some people may be thinking maybe after that time I'll come to market. But nonetheless, then we can see maybe how to value, because a lot of this is going to institutional and foreign. So that means most likely, I don't want to preempt, but you can tell then, unlike maybe the retail that is frequent, then we can see maybe how that goes. But I don't know, any thoughts on any other question or that question, Sophie?
I think he's answered it properly. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe to touch on the portfolio, there is the question with regards to the portfolio. What is a portfolio? So a portfolio shows the number of shares that you have and the counter that you've invested, for example, in the Nairobi Securities Exchange. And also it shows the price that you bought the shares at. So what we call a portfolio valuation will be, it's looking at the price that you got in at with the different counters vis-a-vis what it's currently in the market, so that you're able to see your valuation of what you've invested in. So that's what we call a portfolio, and the valuation would look at the price that you got in vis-a-vis what is the current market price. It will show you if you're either making a profit or a loss. So sometimes you'll know if you want to still hold the shares or if you want to get out from the market. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, so at least you have understood the portfolio. What about the voting rights? I know for self, or that's something we can get back.
Yeah, I think that's something we can get back, but it's under discussion. It's on, there are discussions going on with regards to that.
All right, so good question. So that one they will get back. Then the next question is, when you put in money these ones, do you have to continue putting in money in future? Ama, it's one-time deposit and that's it. Of course, people are joining for the very first time, so they want to really understand how do you go about it. And then also another question, do we need stronger safeguards to protect first-time investors during high-profile listings?
Okay, maybe I'll talk on the first time, like if you're investing, if you're putting in money, I would say you want to make, when you're coming to the stock market, you want to make good profits. So you don't just invest once. And this is what we say in the market, you build your portfolio so that you're able to get good returns. Good returns also means in terms of profit from the value of the shares, and also in terms of the dividends, so that you're able to get good dividends. And that's why we're encouraging people to, if you have something small and you're not using it, you're doing it for, like you're spending it anyhowly, you pump it into the market, put it back into the market. And even the dividends that you get, I would say don't spend, if you don't have any project that you're not doing, I would advise that you put it back into the market so that you grow your portfolio. Don't say you'll put in money once, because you want your portfolio to grow. So I'll say maybe in a month, decide I want to put in 5,000, 10,000, like whatever you have, the extra cash, so that you build a portfolio, and a portfolio that is strong. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. You'd like to add something to it?
Yeah, I am so impressed by the questions that the listeners are putting in, because it shows that I am not just here for a one-off. This becomes a lifestyle. And I want to build on what Sophie has said, and even what you'll hear Daniel tell you if you're listening well. Investing, whether it is in the capital markets, it's in farming, whatever it is, you can imagine a farmer who just plants once. What does that mean? It means that I harvest once, or if it's I could harvest.
I really like the simplicity, and I'm really
Yes.
tickled.
So
because we're also focusing on agri, and there are Kakuzi
precisely.
people watching.
There are.
Yes.
So you can't come invest once, then you go. Sindio? Yeah. So you have and that's why it comes back to education. You have to go back to what is your objective? Why are you in this market? Maybe am I doing it for capital gains? Do I want to do it for capital preservation? Whatever your objective is, it really has to start from there. Then now, what Sophie is saying, per month now, based maybe on my objectives when it comes to investing, I want to put in X amount. Why am I putting in the X amount? Is it to hedge against risk? maybe nimeenda sana kwa tech, I want to balance it with financial services. So now that's the portfolio she's speaking with. So that you're not just a shareholder, like you're a shareholder who has a balanced portfolio. There's, after like you're saying, when your mumias went down, it is balanced by somebody else who's going up. So
Yeah,
when you
that's
look
correct.
at the net effect, it's not that I lost money. I made something from it. So for me, the person who's asked, do I invest and go? Tutaanza na objectives. Tuanze kuset objectives. Even when you go to school, you start with the objectives.
Yes.
We start with those objectives. What do we want? Then now how we invest. How often, what counters is informed by that. But again, like we have said, our brokerage community, our partners,
Yes.
our job is now to help Kenyans understand how this plays out when they're investing in the financial markets.
Wow, I really like the way you've broken it down in a very simple and relatable way, so that you want to invest in a portfolio. It's like even when you're eating, you don't just eat starch alone. You know, you put some meat, you put some veggies, and of course you have some juice. So you want to have what we call a portfolio that is balanced, and that way you safeguard your investment. So thank you very much even for that panel. I'm really enjoying. I'm learning a lot as well, and even just the relatability from our audience. So keep the questions coming and the comments. We had a comment that came in earlier on, and I believe we've been able to tackle this. Please also talk about the dangers and risks of stock, so people have both sides of the story. I think I shared the story where we lost some money, but on the converse, we also got, at least she got to gain some money through a different investment, and that's why we are talking about a portfolio. If there's anything else, you can feel free to also respond, but I'll also add a few more questions. When you put in money, when do we need, what principles should guide ethical investing in Kenya capital markets? Or how can investors balance profit with social impact? I think nowadays you talk also of social bonds, green bonds, and all that. So how do you balance the two? And then the next question is, what are the growth prospects for KPC?
So maybe I can let you talk about the social impact, and then I'll discuss KPC about the growth.
So I didn't quite get the question. Is the social impact question related to the person who is investing or to the counters that are listed on the NSE? The person investing?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I missed that. My sincere apologies.
No problem.
Yes.
I'm just clarifying if the question on social impact is in relation to the counters that are listed, or is it in relation to the person who's investing?
Oh, okay. It was a bit broad. So they just asked what principles should guide ethical investing in Kenya's capital markets, and how can investors in the market balance between profit and social impact?
Okay. So I'll attempt to answer it to the best of my knowledge. I like what you said about what securities are now available, even on the NSC, that give people options. I can participate as an example. It's closed now in the Safaricom Green Board. I could. So that it comes back to just the question that I keep asking. What is your objective? It's basically your investing principle.
Yes.
Right? So as you're investing, I know this is my objective. This is what I want to get out of it. But even in your investing policy or principle, you can decide, maybe I do not invest in maybe alcohol-based counters.
Yes.
Because my ethics maybe do not relate to that. So even as I build my portfolio, the counters that I'm investing in, I'm very clear that I will only invest in companies that behave in this way.
Yes.
That I agree to their purpose. They have a shared vision with me.
Absolutely.
So that could be one of the ways that we do it. And remember, you also vote with your money. Sindio?
Yes.
Where you invest in it means that you believe in them, and you're basically putting a stake in it. You want them to succeed, and you're doing that with your money. So I think if it's from a personal perspective, it comes back to, what are my investing principles, and how does my portfolio therefore reflect that?
Wow, I like that. So what are your investing principles, even when it comes to investing, and does the opportunity also reflect that? Yeah. Any feedback on, maybe there is a question?
Yes, there's a question on KPC, and I think it's addressing to the growth prospects. And the question I think is asking about the investor wants to know what are the growth prospects of KPC. There's a lot I can talk about KPC in terms of growth, but I will be brief. One is KPC was declared the company of the year 2025. And for you to be declared the company of the year, we're talking about innovation, we are talking about sustainability, we are talking about growth, and we are talking about the integrity in the investment. So just based on that, talks to the investor in terms of the structures that are in place to make sure that this business is sustainable. But I will break it down further into strategy. KPC largely is known for transporting and storage of fuel. So that is obvious, it's out there. So I will go a step lower and talk about the strategy in terms of diversification, which has a future outlook. One of them is the fiber optic. The company looking to invest into technology, the fiber optic. Currently, they are already doing dark fiber, and soon to come is the lead fiber. So in terms of even their revenues and diversification, that is revenue that is going to come away from the logistics side of transporting and storage fuel. The other one is the Moredat Institute in Naivasha, in terms of expanding the hospitality services, training and skill and capacity building. And finally, I want to talk about a very important asset that is in KPC's books, which is the Kenya Petroleum Refineries Limited in Mombasa. It's an idle asset that can be put into immediate use in terms of distribution and storage of LPG, which is a product that we use every day in our lives. So in terms of growth, it's immense. It's not something that we would be worried about. And even if you look at the strategy that has been laid out very well in the IAM, it talks about the strategic initiatives that grow revenues of KPC. One last one is the regional expansion. South Sudan, we still requires distribution of fuel products. Eastern DRC still requires distribution. Rwanda. So all those are opportunities that are ahead that KPC can develop and grow into in terms of revenues.
Wow, thank you very much. And we had more questions that are coming in, and I want also the panelists also to give their parting shots. I know we had said between 12 and 2 p.m. We've had constant engagement. You've made this place very lively, especially with your comments and the questions that you've been having. So I'll share a number of them and allow them, maybe even as we prepare now for the parting shots, to also tackle some of these. So someone says, how will KPC govern and manage investor relations post-IPO? So post the IPO, how will KPC manage investor relations? And then please, can one buy shares on Nairobi Security while in Gulf? That is Saudi Arabia. What they are saying is that, please, can I use Zidi Trader while in the Gulf? And then if the deadline for KPC is 19th February, is it that there'll be another period where it will be possible to buy shares for KPC? Or is the issue keep on investing valid for different other shares or diversification of that portfolio? So the deadline is coming after, what do you do after the deadline? So over to you before we go to your parting shots.
Actually, I would have let you handle that question because once the baby is in the market,
yes,
I hand it over to you.
Yes, of course, and I'm sure even Safaricom had also mentioned this, especially the secondary market. We have what we call a primary market and a secondary market. Primary market, you are buying directly from the issuer. So in this particular case, like Kenya Pipeline, you're actually buying directly from Kenya Pipeline. All the rest are just intermediaries helping you to buy. And then there's what we call listing. Listing is appearing on this list of the stock market. So simply being added to the list of companies that are on the stock market. And when you appear on that list, then NSE facilitates, maybe you want to sell it, maybe you have an emergency or you want to buy more, you can actually take advantage of the market. So we facilitate buying and selling, and you can do that through the Zidi Trader on the comfort of your phone. I hope we've done justice. All right. Yeah. What about investor relations? I think, again, from the KPC website, I know that I hope my colleagues in data are watching, that they should actually have an investor relations, an investor relations widget that can actually show you how things are happening. They have, of course, an investor relations department that you can always be able to engage with for any queries that you may have. Also, you have your stockbroker. If you get it through Zidi, of course, you can be able to still engage from Safaricom and Kestrel. They can be able to support you. Also, if any other broker, including Francis Drummond, you can be able to engage with them. So there's all the help that you need. We are here to help you. We have the NSC, we have the Capital Markets Authority. So once you buy, that's not the end. We are here to handhold and work together with you. So the last one, can you buy from the Gulf if you're on Zidi? If you have M-Pesa, you have the app.
So this is a very interesting question. Can you buy in the Gulf? So this is what typically happens, yeah? You are a registered M-Pesa user. So that's question number one, right? Are you a registered M-Pesa user? You know the KYC that is needed for you to be a registered M-Pesa user. So if you're a registered M-Pesa user and you downloaded the M-Pesa app while you were still here before you traveled, now you can still access your M-Pesa app ukiwa Gulf. Then yes, you can. Yes.
I like that. It's
M-Pesa
like
user registered.
yes.
You downloaded the M-Pesa app. Si hapa ndio, we are the home of M-Pesa.
Yes.
Then now you traveled. Now you
Yeah.
want to access the facilities. Yes, you can.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I like that. That's what made Obama to be elected. Yes, you can. So if you have your M-Pesa app, wherever you are on this globe, please, yes, you can. Please go ahead. And remember, the time is ticking. I think when we began this show, it was 2 days, 3 hours to go. Right now it's 1 hour down. So make up a decision and also get to invest. Of course, you're informed, and we are really privileged, even for you spending your time with us, making time and also interrogating. We like the questions. They have really edified and even made the conversation much richer. So I'll go around the panel. Maybe what is your closing and parting shot that people can go out there, think about, and we really appreciate every one of you. Daniel?
Thank you, and it's been a very engaging session and exciting. I will touch on a few things as as we wind up. One is your investment journey. Do not wait for tomorrow. Start today. It's like investment should become part of your social life. The way somebody asks you, nitumie 200, niko na mazishi, that is also the same thing.
So for our international audience, especially in the Gulf,
You should start your investment journey the same way you contribute to social activities and build on it over time. Of course, it's a journey that requires information. It's a journey that requires partners, and that's where the brokers and the investment banks come in. We've got years and years of knowledge and experience, and we are going to be able to handhold you in that journey. Francis Drummond is there for you, so you are very much welcome. Karibu sana. The other item I also wanted to touch on is there is a very critical service that we also handle that is called transmissions. That means you've built your wealth over time, and it is now time to transmission that wealth to your children or to your beneficiaries. So come to us. We are going to give you guidance, and we are going to help you in that process. KPC, you are late. Nunua, it is on 19th, but I would say go to your phone, go to your portal, go to your USSD, and start the journey immediately. It's only 900 shillings. Thank you.
yeah, so thank you very much. That is the Francis Drummond CEO, Mr. Daniel Gikandi, and thank you so much even for being part of this panel. Over to you, Sophie.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for this wonderful discussion that we've had. I will say that the opportunity has been presented to all of you. We have these gadgets on our hands. It's making it easier for everyone to invest. So you should have no excuse of saying you didn't have the opportunity to invest. So the time is now, in partnership with Kestrel and Safaricom, and even the Securities Exchange and the capital markets. We thank you for this opportunity. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you very much, Sophie Njao from Kestrel Capital, in partnership with Safaricom. They have brought the Zidi trader, and she was here to answer your questions. So thank you very much, and a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
Okay, parting shot.
Kawira.
Yes. So for me, it goes back to Kenyans. Yeah, this is an opportunity for you to own a part of Kenya. So I would say, in terms of our parting shot, yeah, it's the opportunity is available. We've been able to send money. You've been able to receive money. You've been able to make payments using your M-Pesa. And so now what we're telling Kenyans now is, if you can M-Pesa, now you can participate in financial markets. We are making a commitment as a business to bring in the learning, to support Kenyans as they get into this not so familiar space, and we're going to start doing that immediately. And maybe as a parting shot is, unajua the KPC IPO iko ndani ya M-Pesa app. So it's just, what are you going to do with that information? The platform is there.
Well, I don't know about you, but for me, I've actually been able to participate. And of course, I'm not marketing. I'm just saying that it's really an opportunity that is there. And like Safaricom has done with Kestrel, Zidi Trader, like what Francis Drummond and the entire team, they've been able to bring these opportunities to us. We have no excuse but to continue and also take advantage of them. So thank you very much for investing your time. From us here, from the NSC, we wish you the best. This is not the end, it's just the beginning. So we'll be having more engagements with you. So asante sana and have a blessed afternoon. God bless you. Kwaherini.
Thanks for having us.
Now you can invest in shares on the Nairobi Securities Exchange with Zidi Trader ndani ya M-Pesa app. No forms, no waiting. Anza hata na share moja. Alafu unauliza uanzie wapi? Cheki, download your M-Pesa app pale Play Store. Ndani ya M-Pesa app, chagua Zidi Trader under Financial Services. Safi. Soma terms and conditions. Ukiwa sawa, accept. Hapa homepage, select buy stocks. Search or select your preferred share kwa list ya stocks. Afterwards, eka the number of shares you want to buy. Anza hata na share moja. Finally, enter your secret M-Pesa pin. Na Zidi Trader powered by M-Pesa, hakuna forms na hakuna waiting. Anza leo by downloading the M-Pesa app.
Buy and sell orders will be completed subject to a buy and sell match. All buy requests not settled by